Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel today. Today, I'm going to talk about the Angler of the Year, or the Team of the Year in the Columbus Bass Club. Here it was our first year actually as a bass club here in Southeast Kansas. We had quite a few members. I believe we had over 20 members all together. We had quite a few that fished not every tournament, but came to about every one of them. And yesterday, I won Angler of the Year or Team of the Year, and I locked that down with a win yesterday in the last event. And I won 5 of those events. And this year we held 8 of them. We went off the best 5 events to see who won Team of the Year. And that was me. I actually won 5 of them. I was the only one to win 5. The closest team had won 3, and I believe they had 2 seconds. So I was going to talk about what I won those on each tournament, what I won those on. But before I get into that, I want to thank everybody that fished the Columbus Bass Club, as I am also the president of it and I'm the director of it, so I run all that. I want to thank everybody that came out to that, and I look forward to next year and looking forward to the awards banquet coming up here. If you guys don't know about the Columbus Bass Club, if you are from Southeast Kansas, anybody, we have a low entry fee of $25. That's an optional $5 big bass. Next year, we're talking about adding another big bass, which would be a second big bass. We'd pay 2 big bass places out, add another $5. That would make it a $30 entry fee. If we do go that route, it's 100% payback. We do have a $10 membership fee that just goes to the club. It goes back into the club, which goes back to the anglers. All of it does through trophies. We give out first place trophies and big bass trophies at each, a first place big bass trophy anyway, for the first big bass at each event. So that's a total of 16 trophies we give out. At the end of the year, we give a plaque for Big Bass of the Year and a plaque for Team of the Year or Angler of the Year. And we also give a bigger trophy out at the end of the year at our awards banquet for the Classic Champion. That's something we're doing as well. And they have our logo on the trophies themselves and the plaques. And then the plaques have a picture where you can take a picture. Say if you got the big bass, you can have that on there as a keepsake. Just print the picture off. We're going to print the pictures off too and put those in there for our anglers, so they already have those. We're going to continue doing that every year. And we look forward to next year. We're going to have our awards banquet coming up here shortly, probably at the end of November, start of December, to go over the rules for the 2022 season and get started with that. So if you guys are from Southeast Kansas, look us up on Facebook. It is Columbus Bass Club. You should be able to find us. You'll see this logo right here on my shirt on there. And give us a like. You got any questions, hit me up. The schedule will be posted here shortly as well once we go over it at the awards banquet. Make sure everybody can make it. Now, on to what I won Team of the Year with and what baits. The first event of the year, I got 3rd place in, which was a kind of a bad start to the season. Not a good start, but not a bad start. I would probably have won that one. We hadn't adopted the pictures yet on the boards, the picture method, because here in Kansas, in our strip pits, if you guys don't know what we do exactly, we fish strip pits, and strip pits are anywhere from 20 acres or 15 acres, about the smallest one we fish, 15 acres to 65, 70 acres. So we do that in the smaller ones, and it's really a hard setup to get figured out. Let me get into that first, because we draw it out of a hat at the pre-meeting. Okay, we have a meeting, either depends. This year we're probably going to have it, we fish for about 4 hours, so just depending on when dark is, when we have that, we try to fish about 30 minutes before dark, 15 minutes before dark, and end right then. So we fish 4 hours, but we don't know where we're going. Everybody meets there at the meeting, and then we draw out of a hat what pit we're going to. We put all of them in a drawing, and we draw it out, and then we don't fish that one until the next season after we draw that one pit out. So you don't know where you're going until it happens. So you got to go and just go off your instinct once you get there, and you better hope you're one of the first ones in the water so you can get figured out what you want to throw in that pit. Because, there's clear pits, there's grassy pits, there's dirty pits. Depending on the time of the year, what you're going to throw, there's rocks in pits, there's all kinds of stuff. There's milfoil, they're chasing shad. Some of them got a lot of shad in them, some of them got a lot of bluegill in them. So it just depends on where you're going. You got to change, and then you only got 4 hours to get it figured out, and you got to beat all these other guys in there. We don't have live scope. We got rid of that. You can't have live scope in there, so electronics are pretty much out of it. It's all just down to who is the best angler. There is no electronic reading going on, so it is just down to instincts, basically, and see who can do the best. Anybody can come out and fish it. I fish it every once in a while out of my little Scamp. I take the bass boat a lot just because it's easier because I got everything in it. But I go in my Scamp. I've won them out of my Scamp. This year I did not. I fished out of the bass boat. But if you guys, that's the format we do there, and it's anybody's ball game with that. So you got to just know what you're doing. You got to adjust on the fly. You got to let the fish tell you what you're doing and hope you make the right decisions in 4 hours because we got some stiff competition out there. I had to work for everything I got this year, and luckily I was able to pull it out. Believe it or not, at the end of the year, I was kind of worried myself if I could do it, and I knew if I could win the last one here, that would seal it for everything, and I was able to do so. I'm going to talk about all the tournaments who fished this year and kind of what happened with them and go on from there. Well, the first event started off, and we have a slot in the pits here, which is 13 inches. We can keep them under 13 inches, or we can keep them over 18 inches. So if they're in between 13 and 18 inches, we got to throw those back in the water. We couldn't bring them to weigh in. So we was just taking them under 13 inches and over 18 and weighing them in. Well, then we adjusted and we did a picture method where if they're in the slot over 13 or under 18, you take a picture, and we have a weight format we go off of from the length of those. So the first one, I caught a 18-incher, which is 3 pounds, 6 ounces, I do believe, 3 pounds, 8 ounces. I got third place. And if I would have had, I did catch one in the slot. I think it took 4.3 or 4.6 to win that tournament right there, 4.8 right in there. And I had one that was about 15, 16 inches that was in the slot that I had to throw back because we had not abducted that, or adopted that anyway, into the rules until that tournament after. We all talked about it because there was quite a few other people that caught 1 or 2 in the slot as well. And we put that into the next tournament, the picture method in there. So the first one, I caught the 18-incher, and then I caught the 16-inch first, actually, that told me kind of what they was doing, and I stuck with that bait. And that was a Megabass jerkbait in clown color. I'm not sure what they call that color, but it's a clown color. I think they might call it clown. That's what I caught them on that first tournament. I probably would have won that one. I don't know what everybody else had in the slot, but it would have been right there close around first place. So then the second tournament, I kind of went into it thinking maybe I'm going to throw that jerkbait. It was early April. It was still colder water. And we drew a pit that I haven't really been to a lot. And the times I have been to it, I struggled. So I was kind of worried about it once I was heading there. We only had 2 anglers for that event because a lot of anglers had some other tournaments to go to and they could not make that event. So there's only 2 of us there, which doesn't, it's still a win, and I probably would have won it no matter the amount of anglers there, what I was doing. I remember being back there in the past, and I kind of put the trolling motor on high and went to the back of the pit. It was, what is that number, 34, I believe it is. It's over there by Trout Pit. And I was kind of struggling to catch them, tried throwing a shaky head, couldn't get bit on it a little bit. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to throw the rock crawler right here. Not a rock crawler, but a wigglewort. It's just a storm wigglewort, not a pre-rapple of wigglewort, just a rapple of wigglewort. Nothing fancy about it. That color right there, I'm not even sure what the color is. It's a brown crawl, that's it. And I threw it around, and I had 3. It was actually the biggest bag of the season I caught. That was the second biggest bass of the year caught in the clubs. It was 4 pounds, 10 ounces. Then I had another one, I believe, that was 17 inches, and another one that was around 16 inches. So I caught lots of bass that tournament with this lure right here, and they was inhaling at that big one. Just every one of them swallowed that bait. So that was the right bait for that time. It was early April. Water temperature was in the high 40s, if I remember right. So it was still pretty cold, and they was just loving that wigglewort. That was before that milfoil came in, so you were able to actually throw a crankbait real effectively. And then the second tournament that I won with my son Lee, and actually he is the one that takes credit for the big bass of that tournament. I would have still won it without him, but he caught the big bass of that tournament. I believe it was a 15.5 inch or something like that, and he caught that. I thought he was hung up in moss when he was telling me. He's like, no, Daddy, this is really a fish, really a fish. And I was like, oh, wow, and I seen it, and I netted it for him, and he got it in the boat. What he caught that on was a big hammer ringer worm and a magic bug, which is right there. And any time the ringer worm works really well in post spawn after they spawn and they're wanting a smaller meal and they're kind of finicky. It's a grub style bait. It's 4 inches long with a little curl tail there. It's just a little grub. We were throwing it on a 5/16 ounce actually. We drew pit 24? No, I don't know if it's 24 or what the number is. It's H Pit. Well, we all know it as. It's kind of south over there by Brutus Pit. And we caught him real good in those milfoil beds, throwing that ringer worm there. He caught him on the magic bug, and I caught him on just a watermelon red. is what I caught him on. I think he caught 2 that tournament, and I caught 9 or 10, or they were wanting a watermelon red a little more, but that bigger one wanted that magic bug, which is a really good color anytime you're in the pit, especially if there's shad around. I should have threw it this last tournament, but I did not at the end of the year. I didn't even think about it. I had a 13-year-old with me that probably could have caught some more fish if he was throwing that. I didn't think about that till after. That goes into your game planning. When you have 4 hours, you got to think of what to throw on the fly. And then the next tournament was pit 22, I think it is, if I remember right. It's a kind of a horseshoe pit back in there by Dynamite Pit. And I won it just throwing a blue fleck power worm. And last year we was fishing an event, and I would have won it too, but I actually was fishing out of the Scamp, and I just had a little stringer, so I had it on the stringer there, and I actually got off my stringer. It was one of the metal stringers. I'd have won that one, but I ended up getting second place. And just a blue fleck 7-inch power worm on a 3-aught hook with a 1/4 ounce weight. And that's what they were eating. I caught over 20 fish, maybe around 30, I forget, right in there, around 24, 25 fish that day. I had one in the slot get off that would have definitely won that tournament. We actually all tied, but we won because we had big bass. It was, I think, 12 ounces. It was a little bitty dink fest is what that tournament was. But when the fishing gets tough, that little 7-inch power worm is a go-to worm in the pits right there. It's blue fleck. If it's clear water, they love it in the summertime. And then the next tournament we drew was actually 22 again. It's a power line pit, that's what we call it. It's got a power line that kind of runs through it. And we went with that there. It was the same, clear water. It was a little shallower water, but had a lot of grass in it, milfoil. So I started off with a Texas rig. And just right here, a little Texas rig. Same one, little 3-aught hook, 7-inch blue fleck power worm, and that caught the second biggest bass of that event. Right there on that blue fleck power worm. And then Matt actually caught it on, he was fishing with me that event, Matt Havlin, who got second place in the Team of the Year standings. He was fishing the one with me before that, too, because Jimmy had his arm operated on, so he was fishing with me. And he caught that. It was on a Cinco is what he had, I believe it was. And he was throwing a Nico rig, and then I kind of switched over to it, too, and he caught his biggest on a little Nico rig. And we was taking a little split shot and just putting it on there, and I switched to a Nico weight, or just a nail weight there later on in the day, and just actually clipping that on the head. And if you go to my YouTube videos and go to Nico Tricks, you can see that in there, exactly how to do that. And that's what the biggest bass of that event came on there. But the second biggest bass came to that power worm, so it's both those techniques put together that put that win together. We caught over 30 fish between us in that event, too, maybe 40. And then that was the August and September events, or September and October events. And then this last one was a November event. We went in, and we was all tied up, me and Lee, and Jimmy and Matt were tied up going into this event. So I knew I had to win it to really secure it. Because if they won it, then they would win, unless I got second. And then the tiebreaker rules that are in there, we're going to make sure all those are put into place here at the awards banquet. If everybody makes the awards banquets, that's when we're going over the rules for the season, so we can get everything put in place there and have that going forward into each season. So there is no arguments going in, and everything can be handled then. So be sure to get there to voice your opinions, and that's when we're going to do all the voting. We're going to have food there and all kinds of good stuff like that, and then talk with everybody and give out, acknowledge all the winners. Now, on to the last tournament here. I went into this one. I was thinking a jerkbait would probably be good. It depended on what the water temperature was. They're suspending, it's getting colder now into the November months. We had some cold fronts coming in. We got in there. I was kind of surprised. It was a bright, sunny day. The wind was not really blowing. A little light breeze, not much at all for that pit. And it's kind of a horseshoe pit over there. It's 33 is what it is. South 33 pit. And it's a little horseshoe pit. And I started off, I was thinking the jerkbait, so I threw the jerkbait a little bit. And then I had 2 little punks tied on, 2K jigs, little punks. Their new silicone skirt line, I really like the looks of them and what they do. And I was like, man, I bet those will be good in the pits. And I had not got a chance to throw them yet because they just came in a couple weeks ago. Actually, it might have been just a week and a half ago. Not very long ago. I have not had these. So I went with their caustic crawl to start with. Like a PB&J might be good. I went for sure about the blue crab, which has been good to me, but more in stained water. And it's really clear water in this pit we was in. And there was a lot of laydowns just right from the boat ramp. So we started off. And the big bass of the tournament was caught just right there in the first 5 minutes of the event. I believe he caught it on a spinnerbait, AJ did. And I was like, oh, man, I got to have some good fish. He just caught one over 18 inches. That puts the pressure on you. So you're like, I got to do something. So I was throwing that PB&J, Caustic Crawl's a PB&J color with a little Z-Crawl trailer. And then I also tied this blue crab on. I had it all tied on, and I put a full-size or a D-bomb, not a baby D-bomb, a full-size D-bomb on there in Copper Chopper. See how it's got the blue in the back of it there? And it's got the blue. They like that blue in that jig. I do not know what they like about it. They like it on Stockton Lake. They love it here in the pits, too. So I went with that. It was like the first one or two casts I cast up there into a laydown. Not really a laydown, but there's just a lot of brush off the side there. I don't know what you call it. Not really laydown. It's not really buck brush. There's just some brush right there. Quite a bit of it in that pit like that. It's kind of not really, like I said, not really falling over trees, laydowns. They're just kind of growing in the water there. So I flipped up in there, and then I had one bite it. I came down and I set the hook on him, and I missed him, and he got me hung in a tree, so I broke the first one off right there. And I set the hook, and I tried to pull him out of that tree, and they got me hung up, and then I pulled again, and it broke off in there, so I tied the next one on. Just a little ways down, I caught the third biggest fish at that event, and that was just a 14.5 inch, I do believe. A 14 inch right in there is what he was. For mine, it was my third biggest. So we went down a little way, still no bites. I was still trying the jerk bait. I was throwing an underspin. I was throwing a big hammer, 3-inch hammer on an underspin. I was trying it on a jig head. I tried a shaky head. I kept this jig. I just kept wanting to go back to this jig. I was thinking, this jig is going to be the money here. It's going to be the money. So went along, and I coming up to another laydown in the back of the pit. Not many people went to the back of the pit back in there. Just 2 of us did. And there wasn't nobody even following me back in there. I was back there, and there was a laydown there. I was like, I'm going to pitch this jig up there. Not laydown. I've been pitching about every laydown I came to, or the brush up there. Threw up to that one. He hammered it. I set the hook, and I was like, oh, Kyle, that's a good one. That's a good one. I got him in the boat. He was a 17-incher. So got that. I got the picture of him. Got a good picture. A 17-inch fish. I was like, okay, that puts us in a good position to win this. If we can get one more good fish, we'll have a chance at winning this. So I worked it, and I kept trying some other things back there in that pit. Worked that back arm. Still nothing out of that back arm. So I was coming back, and was coming to a little pocket right there, and I was just casting it along. It wasn't really in much brush there like it had been. He wasn't really tight in the brush, and then he hit it. And I got all this on a GoPro. I'm going to get it edited and get it up so you guys can see all this footage as well. And he hit it, and I didn't wait on this one to take it. Like, I've been real patient. I'm a real patient guy with a jig and anything, a Texas rig. I'll let them kind of make sure they got it and then set the hook. Well, that one felt like he had it when he hit it. I was kind of antsy because I knew I needed that another fish. And then I set the hook, and then I was like, oh, man, he missed it, I was like, okay, let's drop it. Maybe he'll come back for it. And I dropped it, and I pumped it up one more time, and then he just grabbed it again. And then I set the hook in him. I didn't even get a good hook set in him, and I want to thank Kyler on that one because Kyler did a good netting job, got the net under there. I kept the bass from jumping, got him in the net. As soon as he got the net, popped out of it. He never even got in his mouth, so that's a good thing we had the net with us there. That fish would have been gone, and Kyler did a great job on netting that bass. And that's when I screamed a little bit there. I think everybody in the pit heard me. I get a little excited, especially with that fish. I just felt that was the money fish. And that was, at that point, I'd only caught 3. There was a lot more bass at the front of the pit, though. A lot of the anglers stayed up there at the front of the pit. That's where most of their fish came from, except I think Jimmy and Matt's came from actually that same spot where I caught that second, 7. That was my biggest fish of the day, a 17.25. And he caught that one, and that was right in the same area. They caught 2 of theirs, and one of their biggest, a 17.25 inch. So, I mean, that was a good area right there for big fish, but a lot of the fish I seen were caught up there right around the boat ramp, and I got back up to the boat ramp, and I boated 3 just in the last 30 minutes right there by the boat ramp. There was a lot of more milfoil kind of growing off the bank, but the quality just didn't seem to be there. So I think that key to that victory, for one, was throwing the jig for sure. A lot of people, I don't think, could get bit on the jig. I don't know if they wasn't throwing the right color, or maybe it was the finesse jig. I'm not really sure, but it really stood out. Maybe it was the D-bomb trailer. I really think it was the Little Punk. They love the 2K Jigs Little Punk. I probably could have went with a smaller head. I went with a 5/16 ounce because actually I bought them, and I was going to resell them at a tackle show coming up here. And one of the guys in the club actually bought me out of the 3/16 blue crabs, so I didn't have any. I was like, oh, I got these 5/16 ounce. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go with them. It might be a little heavy, but we'll see what works out because they like that lighter fall in the pits, and the 5/16 did work out. I might have got bit if I would have had the 3/16 ounce a little more, but it all worked out in the end, and I got the victory for the team of the year. So it's going to be a great year. I got big shoes to fill going into next year because everybody's going to have their sights set on me. So I got to make sure I got my A game going and I can do it again next year. Let's see. And we'll see how everything plays out. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.